Well, no time for intros today. We have plenty to talk about, mostly on the lower term timeframes. Also want to follow up on the weekly closure for CME yesterday as well. And with that said, I would like to wish you the happiest and healthiest start to this, where's my computer saying? It's Saturday. Yeah, hey, have a happy Saturday in your life. Technically, traditional markets are closed, but doesn't matter because Bitcoin is 24/7, and looks like we're in for a little bit of weekend dramas here. So with that said, let's put the focus over here on the Krown Chain application, which you found at app.krownchain.net. And there's one major thing staring me right smack dab in the face right now, and that's the Bitcoin dominance coming down a full percent from yesterday to today, as Bitcoin more or less does range on the whole. And we are still seeing a bit of a rotational market, but with this next segment, it is starting to look like altcoins are being a little bit more interesting versus their Satoshi pairings, and especially being led by good old Link, the trusty of them all, or like the the one that's been good for quite some time now, does start to signal a few very interesting things. But I want to see some weekly closures in some very specific areas, preferably tomorrow. Maybe takes another week on top of that, but could start to make me more bullish on altcoin Bitcoin pairings here for the long term, not just for like these one-off pumps and dumps, but like an actual sustained run. So let's talk about that as well. Also, open interest coming down significantly from yesterday to today, down to about 5.5 billion with a B, that is. But Bitcoin price action coming down at the same time. And as we've been seeing over this last week or so, price action, and you can reference the videos earlier from this week, we have seen essentially open interest rise when price action rises within this current consolidation range, and also open interest fall while price action falls within this current consolidation range. So with that in mind, it actually does set in a bit of a bias on this current range, which is more or less more the same, but just using some underlying market dynamics to kind of get there and actually have something, verifiable, documentable to reference. And yes, I would still look at this as more or less a healthy consolidation at a very high level, $30,000 base, $40,000 high. And well, we can talk about resolution points on top of that, plus short-term analysis as well. Also, Fear and Greediness coming down 4 points from an 88 to an 84, which is rather interesting. Bitcoin more or less sideways, at least in the way that I look at it. And into the data tab we go over here. Where do we stop? Only Bull Jesus knows. Wait, that doesn't rhyme, but whatever. Funny rate, what do we see? Coming down significantly, actually. If you remember yesterday, we saw several exchanges around the 0.1% threshold. Now that is completely not even a consideration today. As you can see, them all well below. Even OKX posting a negative rate, so you're actually getting paid to hold longs there, if that is correct. I'd have to double check on that, because that just seems, that just seems like a guilty pleasure is what it seems like. Anyways, Fear and Greediness starting to put in a lower high, so it's wrecked. No, I don't think that it really works like that. But again, within that range, it is always a warning signal, but needs to be combined with something more tangible as far as price action goes. Okay, with that said, have we spoken about everything that I want to speak about here? Yes, pretty much. I'm really excited for the new rendition of the Krown Chain application coming out later this month. We're going to be able to do some really cool things, and you're actually gonna be able to just a small insight right here. The reason why it took a little bit longer is because we want to be able to let you customize everything. So you'll actually have like a banner up top, you'll have all the shit around here, and there'll be like scrolling tickers of your choosing, and that is really exciting for myself, because I want that for myself too. So feel free to use it, feel free to not use it, it's all good. More importantly, I'll be on, maybe not so important, but I'll be on Twitch later today, of course, focusing on the gaming, and doing maybe talking a little bit of trading in Bitcoin in between. We actually had some really good conversations yesterday. I wish I recorded that, because that was actually that could have been quite useful. But oh well, fair enough. The show goes on, I guess. What else do I want to say? Discord. I see a lot of people coming to Discord. I'll see a lot of people getting kicked out of Discord because they can't figure out the alt identifier bot. Understand that if you join the Discord, you're more than welcome to come on in, but you do need to pass our security bot, which essentially verifies that you're not like some sort of weird spamming bot entity that is going to just annoy the shit out of people, because we've been kind of raided in the past, and it's just for the best, really. But basically, when you join the server, you'll get 10 minutes to respond to a private message from our alt identifier bot. And if you don't do that, then you're kicked, and then you can come back in if you want, and you'll be prompted with the same sort of message. But yes, it is kind of crazy, but I always love reading the messages and the comments. Like, people will say just straight up, it's like, if you can't figure out the fucking identifier bot, maybe trading is not a good idea. No offense, but you know, you got to learn to walk before you run, right? Anyways, into the charts we go, and where do we end up? Over here on the weekly for CMEs, which is already closed yesterday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, once again, we are closing above the topside trailing band. I also want to remind myself that Bitcoin on CME has been riding the topside trailing band as well. Obviously, this is not your closing price. This is still in motion in closing on the 21st of January. So I still look at this as a trend in progress. But with that in mind, we did hit our short-term downside targets, down about 35,000 bucks. Actually, Bitcoin getting a wick a little bit lower than that. And to spoil a bit of surprise here, I actually do think that Bitcoin has some more short-term downside. So I want to be very deliberately clear with this because I just hope that this is clear in general. And more or less, when I'm looking at some like the 3-day Challenger bands right here, this is governing the 3-day trend, as is the weekly. And as you can see, for the past, like 4 or actually more like 5 to 6 months now, anytime that we close above, generally good, as that is your trend in progress. Even just going back in throughout the history of Bitcoin, it's been pretty damn good. And as long as we're doing that, I still look at that as trend in progress. But a trend on the 3-day, does that mean that the lower term time frames, like a fucking 4-hour or God forbid anything under that, for the love of God in Bitcoin land, is going to be a straight melt up? Absolutely not. As we spoke about yesterday, we did have a short-term downside bias, and those targets do get hit. Now we come back in over the weekend, a weekend of, well, potentially a little bit of fuckery going on here, and I would actually be looking for a little bit more washout moves to the downside again. Anyways, looking at the 2-day, I think that this one really does show the way, or sorry, actually no, it's a 3-day on spot price action, although the 2-day gets it as well. Did this one just open? No, it did not. It's actually closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, or yes, 7 p.m. Eastern time. 3-day, I think, tells a story as well. To put it bluntly right here, I think the 3-day really shows the range rather well. We do have the 9x benchmark average as a bit of a base in action, right around low $33,000, and the top side trailing band getting the top side of this current range on the 3-day as well at about 41,000 bucks. And if I had to call it right now, do I think that Bitcoin's going to both hit the top side and the bottom side within the next 3 days? Yeah, I do actually. A backfill on last 3-day open is certainly not out of the question. That's 34,000 bucks. If we get a wick down to 33,000 bucks, I look at that as an opportunity. If we take out last 3-day low, that's not problematic for me, but taking out the prior than that, the one that closed on the 10th of January, that would be problematic, and that is 30,100 on GDAX. Check your exchange though, it will be different amongst different exchanges. But for right now, I still look at this as more or less fine. Bitcoin above all major moving averages, Bitcoin still trending, Bitcoin still looking on the whole very good. But do not confuse on the whole on higher term timeframes with short term just green dildo to the fucking moon. I've been practicing my O face like that, and I still can't get it right. So I'm still trying to do this because I watch some of the YouTube sometimes, and I know a lot of these people. Actually, I've done a lot of videos with a lot of these guys, and I really like them as people. They're really, really good people, but their fucking YouTube thumbnails are fucking hilarious. It is how have we come to this is the real question. It's like every goddamn thumbnail that you see is, oh no, I forgot. You got to have the finger as well. So it's like what the fuck? I guess it works though, man. People are getting like hundreds of thousands of views on a fucking video like in a day. Like that is, if you don't think the masses are here, think again. Like that's really something tangible to actually document. And you know what? We should actually look at the trends today too. But whatever. Let's go through the lower term timeframes here first. So yes, we did get our move down yesterday to about 35,000 bucks. Wick lower than that, but that's completely fine. I don't have any major issues with that. Put it on the drawing tools right here. I'd actually be looking for another drive lower, probably somewhere in between 33,000 to 34,000 bucks. I don't think that's problematic at all. But I would be using this pivot right here at about 33,750 on a 4-hour closure specifically that is, for judging a further tumble south. Well, I guess we're talking about another $1,500 move, and this would be the area that I really like to be patient for in the low $32,000 region. So over the weekend, typically speaking, I like to not trade. I like to just watch, even though I haven't really been doing all the much trading to begin with over the last few months. Actually, I've really been trying to kind of switch into being a more long-term trend trader, doing more moving average strategies rather than short-term ranging strategies, just because there hasn't really been too much of an opportunity for that, except for this past week and a half, actually, funnily enough, which is the first time that I've made a few trades in a while. And I want to be very transparent with that, because I think a lot of people think that trading is just like you have to always be in a fucking position, like no matter what. That's not it at all. In fact, trading is very unique in the sense that it's more important to know when not to be doing something than to be doing something. But in this case right here, Even the 4 hours still looking more or less fine. Do we have any sort of divergences here to be aware of? No, we do not. More importantly, if I did call it right now, I do think that Bitcoin probably does test a little bit more to the downside and does get picked up once again. Again, the 3-day and the weekly for CMEs do set in the buys, at least for myself. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. For, at the very least, testing the prior all-time high, which is about $42,000, and very likely make new all-time highs coming into like next week. But for right now, over the weekend, what do we see? 4-hour Stokes, nice and downside imposed, and that will remain to the downside as long as we are below 38,650 momentum, that is, and that is, well, clean $2,000 away from where we're at right now with 2 hours 44 minutes and 41 seconds to go. 4-hour RSI a little bit more neutral here. Again, long term it has retained its constructiveness by really having a massive bounce off that $30,000 level, which is exactly what you want to see. But is there anything to be aware of with that? Sideways within this range is more or less what I'm looking for. What do we see on the 3-hour? 3-hour kind of doing the same thing. 3-hour Stokes to the downside as long as we're below 36,300, which actually Bitcoin technically about $80 above right now, but that's nothing within the next 44 minutes and 11 seconds. So keep an eye on that one as well. I would love to get another test back down here, and actually that's not just $34,000 to $33,000 range. That would be wicks down to like low 32,000. So that's actually where I'd really like to get some sort of a potentially even a long-term position in there. But looking at that, what do we see on the 3-hour? We do see 3-hour hidden bullish divergence. Did that already play out? I mean, that was your move from 35.5 all the way up to 37. This is fucking ridiculous. We're talking about a 3-hour hidden bullish divergence signal that's giving you $2,000. That is absurd. That is so very absurd. Anyways, going on to the bi-hourly, what do we see right here? Again, looks to me like it does want to come back down here and test around the 200 simple and 200 exponential average at the very least. But even our 2-hour momentum also is starting to switch around as well, and actually will retain their upside posturing as long as we close this next dildo above 35,233 and 63 cents. So we do kind of see these building on each other, but as you've also noticed, very likely we do see the lower term time frame momentum also is bifurcated here, with the hourly also pointed northwards right here, but will turn to the downside with any sort of closure below 36,500 about, which technically Bitcoin's under right now with 43 minutes left to go. So, by the time that this video is published, you'll have clarity on all that situation. Just, you can pull up this indicator yourself, by the way. Just type in KVDB on the public library right here. It's free and available to anyone out there. And so those numbers will naturally change, but I'd imagine that as long as you kind of see them bifurcated, I'd just look for more or less rangy behavior on the lows, and that likely does turn into an opportunity as you see all of them kind of get swooped up, picked up, and then what I want to see is all the lower term time from momentum also get on the same side, and then I'll be looking for the actual bounce. But coming back down to this region right here, very much within the context of the general narrative of this market. Remember the open interest plus the volume signature plus just our structure in general being that it is an uptrend, quite literally right here. I do look at this as, well, very likely reaccumulation. I do not look at this as distribution as it is right now. This is very orderly. This is very nice. This has been very gradual, and to me that is very much more indicative of reaccumulation rather than distribution. I mean, if we were seeing distribution right here, I'd really want to see like a runaway lower high, and while this is technically a lower high as it is, I look at this within the context of the current consolidation. With all major moving averages still positively sloped here, it's hard to hate, at least for myself. Anyways, back down to the lower term time frames because I didn't even get this idea out just yet. We spoke about hourly Stokes, hourly RSI, very much downside angled in the short term, but I don't have a major issue with it. Probably does come back down just slightly below the bearish control zone, but again, not a death sentence. Likely does beget another try down to, in this case, that would be about 34,600. That's on the 377 exponential average right here. So, I'm kind of giving a big range for the downside. That's mostly because the weekend is usually, the weekend is the best time for the market movers to just kind of wash people out and get people on the wrong side of the trade. And I imagine that there's a lot of over leveraged people who are probably buying into this thinking that it's the breakout because, or, similar to how people are calling this head and shoulders over here, which is absurd. It's really fucking funny, man. But fair enough. I don't think that anyone, and I'm not even a fucking pattern trader, but I don't think that any real pattern traders who've been doing this for a long time would have ever called this a head and shoulders like at all whatsoever. So it's very interesting to see some of the analyses within this market, but fair enough. Anyways, so as it stands right now, lower term time frames, if I had to wrap them up, I'd be looking for another move down, whether it's to like 34,000 or 32,000. I don't have a strong opinion on that. But I would look at, especially closer to the low side of that range as more, more interesting for myself for potentially maybe even a long-term trade. And of course, we can cut that to the middle right here on this local low at about just below 34,000 bucks, so 33,750 we'll call it. And if this area does get broken on a 4-hour closure specifically, could we use a 2-hour as well? No, we could not use a 2-hour. 2-hour would be 33,000, about even. Then I would look for a drive a little bit lower down towards this area right here. That'd be your low $32,000 region. So for right now, just ebb and flow a bit with the market and let her go. And actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reposition this horizontal, not because it's not relevant in that region anymore, but because this one's more relevant as it does line up with a fib, and this one also getting some nice breakout highs and lows within the context of the shorter term timeframes here. Anyways, let's go over to the medium term timeframe, see what the 12-hour is saying right now. 12-hour very much downside angled in the short term. Technically speaking, the 12-hour stocks are upside angled as long as we're above 36,100. But as you can see, Bitcoin's slowly creeping down, about 72 bucks away from that right now. And I would essentially be looking at this as another opportunity to swipe back down to the 55 on the 12-hour, which again would still look constructive on the whole. But would imply some short-term downside. So I need to be very careful with my words here because apparently when you start to talk about a little bit more detailed ideas with like, hey, long-term good, short-term probably a little bit of downside, that can maybe be misheard in some ways. So hopefully the people who actually give an effort to listen or at least understand, that's rather clear. And then for the spoon boys out there, I mean, I guess you can't really satisfy those people. So fair enough. Anyways, so yes, I actually, regardless of the 12-hour stocks right here, I actually do think that this one does come back down. Here's what the 10-hour says. This one has been a bit of a cheat code in the past. And I'm curious if it still is. I mean, let's just kind of blindly look at it right now. Down, yes, calls the high. Up, yes, calls the higher low. Up, yes, calls the breakout. Down, calls the consolidation. Yeah, still pretty good. Not as good as it once was earlier this year, but we are seeing 10-hour stocks cross the downside right here and more or less reject the bullish control zone as it is. So I wouldn't be surprised at another move back onto the downside of the range. But again, that does not make me bearish. 10-hour RSI also very much downside angled here too in the short term, but I'd be looking for another bounce somewhere around the edge of the bearish control zone. That is. Let's see. What about the 12-hour? I think we already kind of went over this one. Yeah, more or less. 12-hour RSI very much neutral, long-term very constructive though. In daily, what do we see right here? Oh, guess what? The 21 exponential moving average is where? It is right around 34,000 bucks. Actually, right below it, to be fair. And coming back down there is certainly not problematic. In fact, I wouldn't even mind like a slight close below it because we haven't even broken it on a closure for a very long time now. It's been months since the last time that we saw. Actually, maybe not months, but a month and a half almost since early December. So typically what happens is, after a strong trending move, you will go into a consolidation. You'll get that first bounce off the 21, then it'll come back down, close slightly below, and then buoy it back up. And it's just one of those classic plays that turns into a nice, at the very least, scalp. And in this case right here, that would imply, yes, we do probably come back down and test it, but obviously not in there just yet. And I'm getting more into crystal ball shit, which I should avoid because that is not trading. That is analysis, which I think is, analysis is bullshit really, because analysis you don't make money for unless if you work for like CNBC. But if you actually trade, then who cares if your analysis is good or not? It's if your trading is good, which is completely different. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are great analysts out there who have no idea to trade and vice versa as well. I know many people who are phenomenal traders, but they have zero clue on how to analyze. Now, of course, which is a skill that you rather build? I mean, I would say trading is probably the one, but again, unless you want to work for like CNBC or some shit. But fair enough, to each their own. As it is right now, daily stocks are still coming down, but remember, we do have this trend line coming in right here that's been building all the way from late September, and I really do like this area actually, as it's right around the edge of the bullish control zone. That is by very likely no mistake, and I would be looking for a little bit of turn action around that region. Guess what? Oh, nice. Bitcoin actually coming down right now. Hey, there we go. Come on down, you little red dildo fuckface. Sorry. But it would imply another, at least another day, maybe even 2 days of some downside displeasures here, and will naturally cross the upside with any sort of closure tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time above about 37,000 bucks. So it's looking a little bit unlikely right now, but again, $1,000 in Bitcoin land at these price points is, it sounds crazy to say, but not all that much. Anyways, so yes, another thing that would be more in the guise of long-term wellness, but short-term downside, it would imply. HVP, absolutely fucking red as a double stick right here, as we do see it literally in the 99 spot, some odd percentile right here, and actually increasing the moving average on this, still positively sloped, which is rather interesting. I'd probably be looking for this to play out of a greater consolidation range, as long as we're especially in the red zone right here. I'd want to see it come down preferably to the blue, but even the yellow would be okay. And what else do we have to say? Daily RSI, we did have, oh my god, simultaneously hidden bullish divergence, but this one doesn't really count as bearish divergence, to be fair. That's me using very aggressive settings on this, going way far back than I really should. So, kind of disregard that, as it's not, not really relevant. But again, it kind of all implies the same thing. So we are seeing the market in nice concert action right here. 2-day came all the way down to the 10 simple, not problematic right there. It does have hidden bullish divergence going all the way back and over here. Now this one, of course, is closing. Oh, it is closing tonight. Oh, this is rather interesting then. This is very interesting then. Any sort of a close above 35,000 bucks still does look good on this. We'll come back to that one tomorrow. And then the 3-day, I think we already kind of looked at this one. I do think that we probably get a backfill in the last 3-day open, and then probably do try a bit of a rally from there. So that would still be another almost 2,000 bucks down from where we're at right now. Again, completely fine. Hard chart to hate. I'm never going to be like bearish on a chart that's above all major moving averages that are positively sloped. It's just silly, but we can have some short-term downside, which I'm still looking for. Anyways, weekly, do we have anything to talk about here? Obviously, that's not going to be relevant until tomorrow for spot price action. Looking at the weekly right here, we have a chance to close once again above the topside Toronto band, as long as we close above 35,436 and 12 cents. Looks like it's definitely within reach, and of course, as long as we have this rising wick nature over here, it's hard to hate as well. I mean, you can see the volume on this weekly dildo thus far is pretty damn good, especially with most of it being a wick to the downside, suggesting that we do have intense buying pressure, especially when it brings it back up above the Toronto band. So if that condition is coming into tomorrow's on close, it just essentially further confirm what we've already seen on CME. But I do put the emphasis on CME. And so that's already kind of, it's more or less a formality in my opinion. Anyways, let's go check out Caretaker's ranges. And on the hourly right here, or let me just make sure. Yeah, it is an hourly. Yep, what do you know? 33,000 to the downside versus about 39,700 to the upside. You can read that as 40,000 bucks in downside angled right now. As we do see momentum and whatnot postured for the downside. So I would be looking for a bounce anywhere around that low $33,000 region. Looks good to me, or 34. It's all the same over a weekend. Okay, so also what I really wanted to do today is, first off, let's go check out Bitcoin dominance, because this is the first time in a while where I felt like there might be something new going on here. Okay, well, the weekly would say no. The weekly says Krown, don't be ridiculous. The daily says definitely downside today, down to about 67.5%. This is on the trading view chart. Don't confuse that with the Krown chain application over here. We're using slightly different reads, but they're all relevant to each other, obviously. This one, though, however, it does have a little bit of short-term downside, obviously. I'm curious how this train is the monthly as well. Nah, still hard to hate on the monthly, to be fair. That's what really gets me about this one. Yes, short term, obviously, it is down. Let's just go look at a few altcoins here. I think Link is the one that's really green dildoing its way in the early morning hours. This one looks really fucking good. It's very likely to get continuation. We did say earlier this week, likely a move back up to $19. We've gotten that. We've not just gotten that, but we've exceeded that, making new all-time highs. This is technically a reaccumulation pattern, whether you want to call it an ascending triangle or a fucking W, whatever the hell. Don't really care what you call it. It's reaccumulation by definition, and new highs are implied by this. Next target would be 24.5 bucks. We've gotten pretty close to that already, and then on top of that, I'd probably extend targets over the next few weeks towards like 28.5 to 30 bucks. Most very likely. For right now, daily looks absolutely phenomenal. This is picture perfect. Reaccumulation and boom, nice move to the upside. So I do quite like it. But let's look at it versus Satoshis here, because that is really, we have seen it lead the market in the past. What I want to reference is the weekly right here. So it still has a lot of work to do, at least in my opinion. But here's what would make me, no questions asked, very fucking bullish, and probably does start to call the alt season, and that would be this. Closing tomorrow's weekly anywhere above 16, let's just call it 70,000 Satoshis. If that happens, no questions asked, you're going to see me be phenomenally bullish on this, looking for another move past probably 100,000 Satoshis and beyond. It's going to look pretty fucking good. Keep in mind that this is, for what it's worth, still a long-term uptrend. And let's see, what was the other one? Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about this dot thing. So very rarely do I add shitcoins to my list here, but if it's not a shitcoin, then I will add it. And I mean, to be fair, if it's doing something like this, which I just want to confirm first that it's one that I'm thinking of. No, it's not. Yeah, this is not good. I mean, it probably does rally from here, to be fair, but this is not like a good chart long term. Maybe it was theta. Theta is in a long-term uptrend as well, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like immediately bullish right here. No, I don't really see it. So no, it doesn't get added just yet. It's still a long-term downtrend, to be fair. Oh, Jesus Christ, my leg is fucked. Although Theta does look like it wants to rally here, to be fair. Yeah, probably back up to 6,300 Satoshis. Okay, cool. What about Uni? Again, it's hard to get excited about a chart like this. No, I think I still remain with my skepticism on altcoins. I'm not ready to call any sort of major reversal there just yet. Although Uni does have some short-term upside, definitely, well, I shouldn't say definitely, but 23,000 Satoshis is what I'd be looking for, and a bit of a pullback around that region. Here's a real test. Is Ripple rallying? Nope, it's not. It's still holding on to the lows. Does look like it's trying to put in a bit of a low here, but still a pathetic chart long-term. What about Litecoin? Pathetic chart. What about Butyrol? That's actually a big one. This one does speak a little bit more towards, you could almost think of it as like an altcoin index. It's not bad. Yeah, short term is very good actually. I'd actually be looking for a short-term move back up to like 3,300,000 Satoshis here and probably beyond. I mean, this one's playing the golden cross as it is. Now, no longer do I have to look for a takeout of 8th of January low, but it would now be the 14th of January low at 2.9 million, that is. And if that does get taken out, I would be phenomenally bearish on this for it to peak up its whole rally. But for right now, short term, it's very much upside angled. In fact, we're going to see daily Stokes probably flip around here. I don't have enough decimal places on that just yet. Can obviously add them with the indicator, but I don't want to do that right now because it's only going to be a one-off. And the golden cross is the golden cross as long as as long as this condition is met. So I suppose I'd be bullish on this one. And if this one, oh yeah, the 4 I was very obviously bullish here too. Very fucking obviously bullish here. Very, very good, actually. Okay, so maybe I do need to get a little more bullish, at least. Well, short term is very obvious. Long term, however, I still have to be skeptical here. It's not wise to call to call a reversal as long as we're still in that weekly downtrend. That will change above 3,600,000 Satoshis about. Okay, what else we got? We're 26 minutes into this bitch, and I haven't even talked about traditional markets. What about NASDAQ? Ooh, coming down yesterday. Oh, no. Not a good Friday closure. Oh, this one's coming down. So this has me a bit worried because we do see strong correlations between NASDAQ and Bitcoin, but we have a jewel cell signal, a very good one. In fact, we have daily Stokes turning down. We have daily RSI, bearish divergence, and this is all in increasing volatility. I'd be looking for next week to trade back down towards 12.5 probably. Looking at the weekly right here, wherever the 10 simple is, yeah, about 12.5. Yeah, hard to love this one right now. And I could very easily extend that all the way down another $500 to 12,000 if we take out the 4th of January low on the weekly. What about SPY futures? Not as bad, certainly not as bad. And this one I think has been a bit of an easier chart to read recently, but same sort of issues here as you'd imagine. Jewel cell signal, very fucking strong on increasing volatility, expanding volatility, I should say, and daily RSI, bearish divergence plus downside angled, and Stokes downside angled as well. I am skeptical here. Yeah, kind of have to be a little bit. I'd be looking for a pullback coming into next week on traditional markets. Fair enough. All right. Could the party be over? Well, let's go check out the other big one. How about Dixie? Dixie enormous. We have a bit of an inverted head and shoulders off the lows here. Obviously, we can't see volume signature on this, but we also did get a pretty damn good jewel buy signal on the 6th of January. That would be confirmed on the 7th. So that was actually that was literally the low, and then the 7th was the boost up. So not bad right there. I would be looking for this one to try a little bit higher coming into next week, above $91. I still do look at the weekly as likely to range a little bit more here, but this technically would be a higher macro low if it can dig itself out of this 89 3/4 low. And if that does happen, it's very unlikely to be good for Bitcoin, actually, at least historically speaking, which I can show you right here. Let's go to the BLX index and see how this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay Bitcoin chart, or Bitcoin chart long term with this, and let's go like this. Okay, god damn it, man. All right, you. Fuck, I used to know how to do this, and now it is not as. Okay, we need to get this on the right scale. Okay, what am I missing here? I haven't done this in a while, so I've actually kind of forgotten. Maybe take a log off. No, I need log for this one, obviously. Log price to bar ratio. Let's see. No, it's not going to work as well. Okay, hold on. Let's. Yeah, this. Okay, it's doing it on the same fucking scale. I don't want the same goddamn scale. I need a different scale here, sir. Scale price chart only. Log price. No, we don't want that. Let's try this. No, it's not going to work either. Yeah, because here's the problem: is it's going to show it all the way up here. God damn it, TradingView! Why do you have to update your bullshit? I can maybe try it over here instead. Oh no, I don't have things differently done over here. Over here, I can maybe try a different one. Okay, let's take this off for a second. I'm just curious if this is going to be a quick fix for this and I can figure out later. I'm sure someone will know, as I've been using TradingView for years and I still don't know everything there. Jesus. Okay, cool. So let's compare. Let's try this once again. There we go. It's already in there. Nice. Oh, motherfucker. Oh, motherfucker. Give me a price scale over here. What the fuck? You bastard. You bastard. Oh, you. Oh, you. Why is it on percent? Should we go log? Try log, and then we could. All right, I give up on this one. I'll figure it out later. I'm sure someone will message me and be like, Krown, this is how you do it, you moron. It's like, oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Anyways, what I'm trying to show is the long-term comparison between these two, and unfortunately, we can't do that right now. Maybe it's because of the chart that I'm using. Maybe let's try one other one. We can try like a Bitcoin Bitstamp chart. Nope. No. Yeah, it's because it's trying to do it in percentage here. That's not what we want. All right, get off there, you fuck. Get off there, you fuck. All right, so I'm still new to the internet. Can't figure that out. And, well, I can spoil the surprise. Look. When Dixie makes major lows, typically Bitcoin makes major highs. When Dixie's rallying, typically Bitcoin's following. Not always, but that is, as you would expect, the relationship between them two, as well, they trade against each other, for example. Also, tech sector closed on a down note here too. If there's anything making me potentially bearish on Bitcoin, it's tech and NASDAQ and SPY by extension, but SPY is stronger than the rest right now. Fair enough. All right. Well, I think it's time for me to wrap this bitch up. Then we'll send you on your lovely merry way. And yeah, let's leave it on linear for now. It's all the same anyways. There we go. There we go into our charts over here. So let's first start it off with CMEs. Then we'll go on to the 3-day. Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on CME weekly once again closing above the top side Toronto band as soon. Well, no, that's not what I want to say. Let's try this again. I had a little bit of an early morning, if you can't tell. Okay, so Bitcoin on the weekly CME once again closing above the top side Toronto band, of which that does sit in the further bias for further test towards the prior all-time high and likely new all-time highs coming into the next week or two of trading action. Obviously, this was following the 3-day signal that we did receive a day and a half ago right here, and we have seen a backfill on that open, fulfilling our downside looks from yesterday at around $35,000. However, just with this upside presence or this upside posturing on the more long-term timeframes, I do still believe that on the short-term timeframes, we have a little bit more downside to test. Very likely Bitcoin does once again test $35,000 as we spoke about earlier. However, I would likely extend that all the way down to about $34,000 right here. That's the next short-term pivot for a 4-hour closure. If we do see a 4-hour closure below this region, I'd look for wicks once again down to about $32,000. That does align with our structure on the 3-day Toronto bands for what we see on spot price action right here, and also a backfill on last open plus a 9 exponential average in the lower end of that region. And I'd essentially be looking for a range to be created between our current high of about $41,000 bucks, and our current low structure rising at about 33-ish, we'll call it. So because it is a weekend, I really don't have any like major proclivities towards exactly where that low side comes in, because a lot of the time you will see that over the weekend it is usually a less liquid market. It's usually a less liquid market, which means that it's easier for the market movers to kind of move things around and get people out of their positions, especially in this massively over leveraged market. So I'm essentially looking for short-term downside here, and then bounces off this region once again, set it up for an interesting open to this next week of price action. So basically what I'm saying is that the weekend likely a little bit of sideways and down, and coming into next week I would be looking for things to get picked up somewhere right around here and give another march on and try to the upside. Is there anything that I want to be also aware of in the short-term timeframes? Yes. Okay, this one's a big one actually, because I haven't referenced this just yet, but any sort of a closure back above this local high on the 4-hour time frame would change around my short-term analysis for this, and I would be looking for another drive back up towards about 39,000 bucks. But for right now, I do feel more compelled to be looking for some short-term downside based off of momentum oscillators on the short-term timeframes, like our 4-hour, like our 3-hour, like our buy hourly is probably up right now, but currently back down, and our hourly also same thing here. So I do think that Bitcoin has another drive down here, probably puts in another low or tries another low somewhere between 33 and 34,000 bucks, maybe wicks down to 32,000 bucks, but I would be looking for things to get picked up around there, and then give another try to the upside as the next weekly opens, as this is really still shaping up to be reaccumulation, especially referencing our open interest, as it has been rising alongside price action and falling alongside price action, losing about 500 million from yesterday to today, as Bitcoin does tumble down from the $40,000 target that we had 2 days ago down to about $35,000 target, which we had yesterday. So that does suggest that it's longs taking profits and running this market right now. And with that said, I would like to wish you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. Take care, and until next time.